real and they run. Ice cream man, ring your bell, play the music I've learned to love so well. Ice cream man, ring your chimes in the afternoon so fine. Ice cream man, upon my street, I heard your truck today. Any ice cream man, on my block now. Your chimes, they reel and roll. Now ice cream man, on my street, your little truck noise, need an ice cream man, upon my block. I heard your chimes, I know they reel and they run. Ice cream man, on my street, your little truck, you know it's any ice cream man, upon my block. Your chimes, they reel and roll. Ice cream man, upon my street, you heard your truck today. Ice cream man, ring your chime in the afternoon so fine. One more time. Ice cream man, ring your bell, play the music I've learned to love. Ice cream man, ring your chime in the afternoon so fine.
He came out of nowhere, walking down the beach. He brought a big umbrella, snowman in the summer. He sat on the sand, waiting for a tan. Made himself at home, snowman in the summer.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pam. It's time for our next session, which is the fruit and veggie container gardens. We appreciate all the folks that are here this evening. This is our exploration 2, and we're looking forward to it. So we're gonna, without much further ado, we're gonna move forward. The folks that are out there right now, if you have an opportunity to drop your explorers, how many explorers you have at your locations, it'd be much appreciated. Thank you so much. And on this slide here at the top, we have our website that if you want to share with your colleagues, we've got 2 more sessions next Tuesday and next Wednesday. So anything you want to share with your folks, that would be great. On that site are the session descriptions, as well as actually links to the webinar registration. I'm Jeff Good. I'm the Chief Education Technology Officer for PBS Western Reserve. And we're excited about being able to offer you this Green It Up Cyberchase program, and I am privileged to be with.
I'm Pam Oviatt, and I'm the Early Learning Coordinator at PBS Western Reserve.
So just to give you an idea, Cyberchase is one of America's longest running math series. We air it on our station on Sundays at 8 a.m. It is Cyberchase itself is very math-oriented, very STEM-oriented. It's an animated series, and it's about a series of a group of kids that try to or outsmart and outwit a hacker using math and problem-solving skills. We were fortunate enough to collaborate with WNET, and they offered us a grant, and they began this Green It Up series. which uses a lot of the Cyberchase characters. It consists of 4 virtual training modules. This is the second in a series of 4. The first 3 are, we did pollinators in our first session tonight. That we're going to be doing the veggie and fruit and veggie gardens, and then we're going to be doing deforestation next week. And we wrap everything up with a big finale. So we have teamed up WNET, who we got the grant from. They are the creator of Cyberchase, and we're very fortunate to be able to offer the Green It Up version of Cyberchase. So one of the items that we do in our sessions is an activity that happens during the session. And Pam's going to spend a little bit of time here talking about that activity that we'll be doing here a little bit later.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. We're going to be starting our own container garden. And so we're going to take our planter, which is biodegradable, so you can put it in the ground later if you want. And we sent you seeds. This happens to be the tomato seeds, but there were carrots and there were cucumber seeds, packs that we sent out to your sites. And so you're going to take that along with the potting soil we sent and plant your seeds. And then you're going to mark it and tell what vegetable you have in there so that you remember in case you're planting several different kinds. So we're going to be doing that activity today during our exploration time.
Thank you, Pam. And that exploration time is going to be coming up soon. We talked just a bit ago about that there are 4 sessions. Our last session that'll happen next Wednesday is the big finale. And what we're hoping is, you know, you think about what each subject or what each area that we covered during these sessions. First of all was pollinators, and we talked about how important pollinators are, how you can grow a pollinator garden. Tonight we're going to talk about a fruit and veggie garden and how important urban farming is. Next week we're going to talk about deforestation. And what we're hoping to do is as facilitators, you'll work with your students that are at each of your locations and talk a little bit about what is an issue that is in your community, an environmental issue. So what we hope is that by going through these 3 sessions, it will kind of stimulate your students into thinking about an issue that they could work with in their community. And our hope is that you'll make a PSA video, that you'll make a poster, any other thing that will help spread the word about that environmental issue that you want to address with your community. We'll also be sending out some Cyberchase Green It Up pledge cards, pledge certificates, and your students will be signing those certificates, and then they'll be describing what they are planning to do to make a difference in their community. So as we talk about these explorations that we have going on, each of these run about 30 to 45 minutes, been pretty consistent so far, about 45 minutes. Our interaction is completely through the chat window, so if you don't know where that chat button is, it's in the bottom middle of your screen, and certainly reach out to us when we solicit some questions from all of you, or at least some answers to some questions. Pam already explained the Explore activity, and that's going to be occurring during each exploration. And then we have a Get Outside and a Take Home Family activity, and these are all activities that happen after we do these virtual sessions. All of these sessions are being offered, these explorations are being offered 3 times a day. So on next Tuesday, we've got a 9 a.m., a noon, and a 6 p.m. And if you've got pictures of your activities, feel free to drop those either to education at pbswesternreserve.org, or you all have my email from your reminders about attending the sessions. So certainly feel free to send them that way. And we're just excited about you being here this evening.
Right. Welcome, everybody. As Jeff said, today we're going to look at fruit and veggie container garden. And when we do fruit and veggie container gardening, we're going to ask, what is that? What are container gardens? And why are they so important to us?
And what you'll find from each session is we always, after we get through all of our explanations and we begin to kind of lay the groundwork with some questions, we start everything out with a big idea. And I think the first big idea that comes out from container gardening, and even when we get into urban gardening, is that you don't really need a lot of land. And we're going to show you examples of container gardening. We're going to show you examples of urban gardening, and you're going to find that it really doesn't take a lot of land to do that. It's not very complicated to set up either.
Well, and as Jeff said, with urban container gardening, you can grow your fruits, vegetables, and herbs in a classroom. When you think of container gardening, they can be as small or as big as you need. You can do it at home, or you could even then have a community garden of these container gardens.
And I think what we all find out after we get through today's exploration is that growing your food helps you make healthy choices. So you're eating healthy food, you're eating fresh food. You're saving money. There'll be a video that we show in a bit here that talks about the money that you're saving. And you're actually helping the environment by creating these container gardens and these urban gardens.
And also you can control what pesticides and chemicals you use or don't use. If you're going to do organic gardening, you may choose not to. And also you can choose the amount of water you use. So nothing is wasted.
And last but not least, and I think we talk about it in more than a couple spots, is when we start talking about urban gardening, Pam and I've talked about this in the last two sessions, is, you know, that I'm still exposed to a lot of farmland where I live, but where Pam lives, there isn't as many farmland as there used to be. And then when you get into the big city, where exactly can farming occur? So when we start showing these urban gardens, you also gives you an opportunity to understand that these urban gardens are a great source for oxygen, but it also provides homes for other insects and animals, much like the pollinator gardens that we talked about in the first session. We're actually still talking about it here in the gardening and the container gardening. So let's take a closer look. We're going to look at a segment of the folks from Cyberchase Green It Up. And what I want you to do when you watch this video is think about three questions. You know, what three things did the garden need that those folks were putting together? Then they're going to show two different types of gardens. There's going to be an issue with one garden, and then there's going to be a second garden. So what's different about those two gardens? And then why do you think they wanted to grow their own food? Hey, let's take a closer look.
This is harder than I thought. We can't plant a garden around here either. There's no soil. Come on.
We got soil here.
But no water. And the buildings are blocking the sun. You need all three for a healthy garden, Didge.
Isn't there anywhere in Factoria with good soil, water, and sun?
This is not good. This is not good at all.
Sorry.
Thought you were upset with us.
I was, but I know you're trying to help. You're the Cyber Squad. I love you guys.
Aw, we love you too.
Granny had a beautiful garden when she was little. I'll show you a picture.
Wow, look at all the tomatoes. So much of everything.
Do you really think we could grow vegetables here again?
There's definitely lots of sun. We can get water from that creek.
And the soil underneath is still healthy. You can tell by the way it sticks together. Look, there's no sand or rocks.
Then this place has everything that plants need. Sun, soil, and lots of water.
So let's make a garden.
Whoa! It really does look like a rainbow.
A healthy and delicious tasting rainbow, too.
Yum, a real tomato.
Wait till Hacker finds out they don't have to eat his junk food anymore.
Release the bunnies!
No!
No! Don't eat that!
How do we get him out of here?
Be right back.
The boss will be really proud of us, Dee.
Yeah! I can't wait to tell him!
Chase them away, Rosie.
Quick thinking, Zorine.
Way to go!
Thanks, guys, but the garden's ruined.
Perk up! The ditch has more seeds. You can still grow your own food.
We can grow our own healthy food, so we don't have to rely on Hacker to feed us.
Yes, we're with you, Zorine! What do we do?
Grab all these you can and follow me.
All these balconies are the same, right?
Yes, each balcony has 12 tiles. That means each balcony has the same area.
Let's fill it up.
Problem. If we do that, there's no space left to step onto the balcony and water the plants.
Okay, so what if we take a few away? 8 containers. That looks about right.
And everybody can arrange the containers however they want.
Right. That won't change the amount of area, just the shape of it. Everyone, each balcony will hold about 8 containers. Place them where they fit, fill them with dirt, water from your apartments, and grow your gardens. Yeah!
Well, Jeff, I'm ready to go out and plant a garden.
I think you say that every time we do this, and I get a little bit hungry looking at how great those gardens are. And so we had thrown out 3 questions to folks. The first question was, what did you all notice that the garden needed? And I think when they walked around the city, they realized at first that there was something missing there. So what were the 3 things? I think one of them, since they were in the city, I think they may have lacked sun. I think that might have been an issue.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's places where they might not have had soil.
And it looked like at one point that they talked about that the soil that they had, when they finally did find a good spot for their garden, they made a comment about how great the soil was, that it wasn't sandy and it wasn't rocky. And I want to say when they finally planted their garden, the last thing I think that they needed was a source of water, because it certainly seemed like they talked about the little river or the little, I'm gonna show my regional side, the little creek that ran behind their garden there was a source of water for them to water their plants. So I think what we're saying is, when you're doing a garden, the 3 major things you need to think about is, do you have access to sun? Do you have great soil? And do you have water? And if you have those 3 ingredients, it looks like you could pretty much have a pretty good garden.
Right. Well, the other thing we were looking at too, what was different about the 2 gardens that the Cyber Squad made?
I found it interesting. The first one certainly seemed like it wasn't huge, but it certainly seemed like it took up a lot more land. It was a bigger garden. And unfortunately, then those wascally wabbits came in and got to the garden, which made them upset. But they realized that they still had extra seeds.
And then they looked at what else they could do. And so they all live in these tall buildings, but they had these balconies. And that's when they got the idea to take those containers and make a container garden. And with 8 containers, they could get quite a few fruits and vegetables planted.
I think you had made a comment before, Pam, that the math skills that went involved with that, because when you talk about critical thinking skills, they went out on the balcony and their first attempt was, well, let's put 12 containers out there, because those balconies had 12 squares on the balcony. I think they were 1-foot squares. And so they thought about it and they said, oh, we're going to put all 12. Then they realized they had no way to get out there to water the plants. So then they brought 4 in and then told everyone that they could do 8 and arrange them, any way they wanted to. I would say most folks probably did them the way the one group did, which was around the perimeter so you could still water those plants.
Right. Well, and Jeff, when we were watching it, I kept thinking, why do they want to grow their own food? Maybe Hacker has something to do with that.
And I think they had made a comment earlier about they were so excited about growing when they had the larger garden, they were so excited about growing their own food because then they didn't have to eat Hacker's junk food. So I think one of the big reason why they wanted to grow their own food is they wanted to have healthy choices, much like what we talked about earlier with some of the reasons of doing container gardening and urban farming, is so that folks can make much more healthier choices.
Right, and everything tastes better when it's that fresh.
Oh, I tell you, definitely. And so I took an opportunity. I tell you that Pam was my influence on this because Pam and I have worked together on a couple training sessions for our early learning folks. And so this is a picture of how my container garden got started back in February. And so I had seeds, and I actually had seeds left over from the year before. And I went through and I did soil. So I had my soil and I added it in my little planting trays, and I added a seed in every planting tray. Some of my planting trays were plastic trays, and I had other planting trays that were more like pots that were biodegradable. And if you don't know what biodegradable is, it's easy for me because what I can do then is I can just take that whole pot, and Pam's gonna talk about that in a little bit with the activity, but I can take that whole pot and put it in the ground. So that's how I started in February with my seeds, and they grew, and I did tomatoes and peppers. And then the picture to the right is a picture of my garden, those same plants, but now they are planted in my container gardens, and I have everything from those peppers and my tomatoes. I have leftover strawberries from last year. I never grew strawberries before, and last year I got them as plants. And they lasted through a season for me without any strawberries. And then this year they kept healthy and they grew again, and we had lots of strawberries. So it was a fun time. So I really appreciate and I enjoy my container garden.
Well, I have a container garden too, Jeff, and because I don't have enough room, our container garden is stacked, and there's a bin that has a few plants, and then you put another one and they stack them up. So we have rows of these plants that go vertical, and we have herbs in one, and we have vegetables and strawberries in another ones.
And I think you were saying this year is the first time you're going to try to grow broccoli. Is that correct?
Right. And I'm surprised how big and tall it gets. So I can't wait to see the broccoli.
And I think with Pam and I talking, I think that's what it shows you is that, you can garden just about anywhere. If you think about the Cyberchase episode, they were gardening in a traditional spot, much like we think of with a big garden. And then they were also gardening in containers on rooftops. So this is a video coming up about an urban garden, and it's quite impressive in the Washington, D.C. area. And so what I'd like you to do as you watch this is think of these three questions. Where do you think plants can grow? Why are urban gardens so important? And there's a lady that will give you probably about 7 different reasons why the urban gardens are important. And then what are the benefits of growing your own food? So let's take a closer look.
The impenetrable forest. Magnificent creatures roam this land. The game of life and death played out right here, every second of it. This is not the Amazon or the Redwoods. We're in Washington, D.C., and this is an urban garden. Just a few feet tall, this garden is everything to many creatures in the neighborhood. And it may be small, but this is a complete mini ecosystem.
It's important to create gardens in urban locations because there's a whole range of benefits that a garden can bring to the city. For example, you're able to create a habitat for the local pollinators.
The right plants feed pollinators like bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. In turn, these pollinators and their visits help the plants reproduce. With urban gardens, if you build it, they will come. It's not just the pollinators that show up.
Another element that's really important to an urban garden is the production of food. Right here in this garden, we're able to grow such a wide range of fruits and vegetables and herbs. We could easily come here and feed ourselves for every dinner of the year. A lot of the food in the grocery store, it's often coming from very, very far away. But by growing your own food, you can choose to know where your food is coming from. You're able to save on your grocery bill, but also add ingredients to your kitchen without having to put out as much carbon and pollution into the environment. And therefore reduce that carbon footprint of your diet.
Good.
Think of all the seeding, watering, fertilizing, harvesting, transporting, stocking, scanning, and bagging you and your food avoids. And aside from the sweat and water you pour into your garden, something else is working just as hard.
Soil is one of the most important parts of an urban garden. The soil is a mix of bacteria, organisms, and decaying material. And a living, healthy soil will produce living, healthy plants, which in turn will create a living and healthy environment.
Healthier soil, stronger plants. Stronger plants, better garden. Better garden, cleaner water. Yes, cleaner water. Our cities are basically buildings and roads, so when it rains, water just runs off these surfaces and carry with it trash, oil, fertilizer, and other chemicals straight into our waterways. Urban gardens get in the middle of all that to retain and filter our water.
The garden itself, the soil, the plants, and their root systems are able to soak up a lot of that water and play a role in the cities to ease some of the stress by reducing the amount of pollution that might go into our waterways or our water sources.
More than landscaping, these are mini farms and mini watersheds that ultimately bring people together.
This garden used to just be a giant grass field with an area in the back for dumping. Now, by creating a garden, it becomes like an outdoor community center. It becomes a place where people are living, getting to know each other, and that is really the largest impact that the space can have.
Tomato and eggplant pita pockets are just a bonus. Who knew a bunch of plants could bring us cleaner water, crucial pollinators, healthier food, improved soil, and a lower carbon footprint for a closer community? Now multiply that by the other gardens in your neighborhood, city, country, and across the world, and we start to see a patchwork of urban living systems that helps nature stay productive. Nature works hard, and that's why we work and garden hard for nature.
So I have to say, every time I watch that video, I see new things. But
Jeff, I was thinking the same thing, actually.
what I find interesting, there was a term that they used that I had missed. I knew that they referenced what it did, but they didn't reference the name, and I had not heard it till I heard this time, which was the term watershed. And I thought that was very interesting, that one of the benefits that she spoke of that I never thought of before with urban gardens is when you think about a city and all of the hard surfaces and all of the rooftops and all of the roads and all the sidewalks, when it rains, where does all that stuff that you spill on the sidewalk or that the cars leave on the roads, that all goes back into the water supply? Whereas if you've got an urban garden, the beauty of that is it acts as a watershed and collects out rainwater before it goes to other places.
Right, and another thing that I heard about the urban gardens, that it's a community center, and I knew it would bring people together, but when I was looking at it this time, Jeff, I saw how they had the plants, and then they were cooking right in the community garden and eating, and those tomato and eggplant pita pockets sounded pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when we talk about why those urban gardens are important, another thing that she spoke of was in the cities, once again, it helps generate oxygen. And it's good for the environment to have those oxygen coming off those plants. You know, I liked also that she spoke of the fact that many of the gardens were pollinator gardens, because we talked about that in our session 1. We talked about pollinators and how important the role of the pollinators are in that whole growing process.
And remember, we said in the big idea, we talked about how gardens make room, habitats for insects and small animals. Well, that was just a blank area, just a dumping area. And now it's this thriving place where people come together, they grow plants, and they're also providing those habitats for insects and small animals.
And I guess I missed the beginning of this. I've made this comment before, but one of the things about one of the benefits of growing your own food was the fact that you eliminate, they showed that elimination of that whole process of food growing. She made the comment that most of the fruits and vegetables that we get come from far away. And when you really think about it, from the planting far away, from the gardening far away, from running the tractors, from then picking all those crops and then putting them on trucks and then sending them to a grocery store and then picking them at the grocery store and putting them in bags and running the scanner. By growing your own food, you wipe that whole process out, and they talk quite a bit about reducing your carbon footprint.
Right. So now This is our time for our exploration. So we're going to make a container garden, start our container gardens by taking the planter we sent you. Now, after you start this seedling, you could be very creative. Container gardens don't have to be square boxes. They could be old shoes even that you could plant things in. You can just be as creative as you want. But Jeff mentioned a word, biodegradable. This is a cardboard that'll break down as the seedling starts to grow and as within the dirt, and it'll break down, and it helps the soil. It's good for that. So you're going to take your planter, you're going to take your seeds and your potting soil, and you're going to go ahead and start to plant your container garden. Start to think about it. But you also want to take a few minutes and look at the back of the seeds. And I'm going to see that this says, oh, the maturity date is going to take a little while. And I see how long it's going to take. I can see how far apart I should have the seeds. That's important to let them have room to grow. And then I'm also going to start to think about where I can put this container garden that it'll get that sun, and then we can water it. And as Jeff mentioned, you're going to also start to think about who's going to water it. What's the schedule? Who's going to take care of these plants?
So let's let you get going here. You've got 5 minutes, so spend some time not only thinking about how you'll plant those plants, but all those other things that Pam mentioned. Everything from take a peek at that information on your seeds to make sure you're not planting them too close. Make sure you're knowing about the watering. I tell the story too often that I plant seeds and then I get about 7 days in and I think I did something wrong. And I realize when I read the back of the seed packet, it tells me that I won't see those plants for 14 to 21 days. So that's some really important information on the back of the seed packets. And then sit down, like Pam said, and figure out a watering schedule. If you're going to put these in your classroom, take some time and say, who's going to spend some time watering, and depending upon what plants you have. So take this opportunity. You've got 5 minutes and explore and put your vegetable gardens together.
Well, did everybody get their seeds planted and their container gardens started? You're on your way. So let's see some more about some other gardens.
And this City Sprouts is a community gardening program that promotes healthy eating, hard work, and nature education in an urban community. So this is an opportunity to hear from the kids in the program as they plant and harvest vegetables and then learn how to cook new foods.
Broccoli, cucumbers, butternut squash, eggplant, garlic steak, kale, potato, eggplant, spinach, lettuce, string beans, snap peas.
Hi, I'm Christelle, and I'm with City Sprouts, and I'm learning how to garden and plant vegetables.
I don't really have a garden at home. It's very small, and I don't have very much garden space. And so it's really nice that I can come here and garden.
I love to grow food that I actually eat. I never saw broccoli growing before I came here, and it amazed me.
When we're at City Sprouts, we always eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and that's really healthy.
A lot of these vegetables need to be pollinated, like these beans. The flowering plants attract pollinators like bees.
Veggies are fun to grow and really healthy, too.
It's really nice to garden here and harvest vegetables to eat.
Here's a couple of raspberries.
City Sprouts is cool because we learn how to cook too. We're making a strawberry smoothie. It's gonna taste very good and awesome.
I'm making a raspberry vinaigrette.
We have a veggie contest and we keep track of all the new vegetables we try.
Ta-da!
Our goal for the 4 weeks is 400. Right now, after the first 2, we're at 165.
We're gonna win the veggie contest! Yeah! I've never tried peppers before City Sprouts, but I should have tried them before because they're really good. You should try to grow vegetables in your own neighborhood. It's really fun.
That looked like all the children were having fun at that community garden too. And their point is well made. Grow vegetables and try some new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always wanting to share with you some resources. And this is a resource, and I'll drop the URL, the website in the chat room so you can follow along. But this Kids Garden Community is just a great website. Always get this pop-up at the beginning. That has a wealth of resources for folks that want to get involved with with gardening. And I love the gardening toolbox. They've got everything from a growing ideas blog that goes through and talks about the different types of things. Kids love school gardens, building a fairy tale garden. That's a blog with recent activities. We've got garden activities, so everything from making a pollinator field guide to rainbow vegetable kebabs, making a lasagna garden, all of these great activity ideas. Then we move into the gardening basics, and they have everything from how do I deal with, why do foods that we ferment, easy enough for me to say, how to deal with earth-friendly gift wrapping, which is a really great holiday idea. They talk about photosynthesis 101, everything from how to nurture healthy soil. So it's just gardening basics and the carbon cycle. And then we get into the last, which is growing guides. And it actually breaks down growing different types of vegetables and flowers, from radishes to poinsettias, back down here to the mouse, melon, and corn and cabbage. So it's just a wealth of information. It's kidsgardening.org. And once you get there, they also have a grant program, right, Pam?
They do. This year, the Kids Garden community awarded 18 different sites, $500 each, to either start a pollinator garden or enhance one that they had. So it seems like it's an annual grant. So think about it, even for next year, to apply if you're going to grow or create a pollinator garden, or if you have one already, if you want to expand it. So something to think about.
And then the next thing we want to talk about is a great little app. It's by the iNaturalist. It's a free app. Pam got me hooked on this, and it's called Seek. And it really allows you to look at getting outside. You point the Seek camera at living things, and it'll identify wildlife, plants, your mushrooms, your fungi. You learn about the organisms that are all around you. You can earn badges as you observe different types of species, and you can participate in challenges. Pam, you mentioned something that was applicable to our area.
Right. I went in and looked at the monarch butterfly, and we talked about that in the pollinator series. And I went in and they told me all about the monarch, and that it is native to our area, that we can find it in our area, and that it likes the milkweed. And we saw that in the video. But I did that for the monarch butterfly, but you could even then take a picture of the plant when your seedling starts to grow, and see what it comes up, if it affirms that you planted a tomato or a cucumber or whatever.
And it's also helpful for, I think they've said that sometimes you're thinking about planting a garden and you see a flower that you really like. This app is really good for that. It helps you identify, and then maybe you can go find the seeds for it or find those plants. Let's take a closer look at the operation of that app rather.
the app, and that's part of our family activity, a city business. One of the things that you can do is go on a plant hunt. And if you take that app and start looking at plants and taking a picture of them, and it'll tell you what the plant is, or you can, so you can identify the plants, or you can draw pictures of the plants you see, or take pictures of the plants that you see. As a family, go outside and look at plants. Or then you could go back to that kidsgardening.org website to create and to figure out how to create your own garden. So that's some of the things you can do. In the family activity guide that we have, that each person gets, each explorer gets, there's a really great activity of how to make biodegradable those containers that'll go, you can put right into the soil and they'll decompose. So it tells you how to do that with newspaper, and you roll the newspaper over a can and then you tape it and you crimp the bottom and you can plant seeds in it. And so you can have your own container garden with that. And Jeff, when I was looking at the poster that they got, I noticed it said that you could use leftover greens from the like in the kitchen, and you like lettuce and pineapple, and you can use those to start more fruits and vegetables.
So all great ideas. We really appreciate your time this evening for our second exploration, which involved veggie and fruit and veggie gardens. We learned a lot about container gardens. We learned about urban farming. We learned about the value of all those. And our next session will be next week, next Tuesday. It'll be in regards to deforestation. And that'll be our last session before we get to the big finale. So once again, thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate you. We appreciate all that you do. And thank you so much for participating in the Cyberchase Green It Up project with PBS Western Reserve. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye now.